Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. We are back again today with another match preview video for you. It's West Bromwich Albion versus Stoke City at the Bet365 Stadium. Saturday 3 PM kickoff. We're back at those again and we're looking forward to hopefully finishing the season in a slightly stronger suit than we've seen over the past few games. Coming up on today's match preview, we're going to be getting the thoughts of Dan from the Every Step Along the Way podcast, Stoke City podcast. He'll be giving us the lowdown on the Potters and what to expect from them. That will come up first. Then you'll have my thoughts on Albion at the moment, my thoughts on the current injury situation and a predicted 11 and scoreline for Albion, and of course the predicted scoreline for the rest of the game. I mean, yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Of course, never really had the best record against Stoke, particularly in the Premier League, but in the Championship, kind of coming back to it and winning a few games against them. But yeah, looking forward to this game. Hopefully we can see a better showing, because let's face it, Easter weekend was a nightmare one for Albion, but there's still that little slim chance of getting in the playoffs now. So fingers crossed they can produce a performance. But yeah, make sure to subscribe, comment your thoughts on the game down below, drop your score predictions, predicted lineups, whatever you want to say in the comment section below. I'll be chatting to you guys down there. But yeah, let's crack on. It's match preview time. It's Stoke City versus West Bromwich Albion.
You're watching the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel. For match previews, match day vlogs, match reactions and more, make sure to subscribe to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel.
But before we crack on and talk all things Albion, let's hear from Stoke City fan Dan, who's the host of the Every Step Along the Way podcast, a Stoke City podcast. So make sure to check them out in the description if you haven't already. He'll be let's go and hear what he has to say, giving us his thoughts on Stoke City and what to expect from them on Saturday.
Hi, Dan here from the Every Step Along the Way podcast. Just giving you a bit of a rundown from our end ahead of Saturday's big game. Our season so far has been a bit disappointing, really. I mean, we had a big overhaul in the summer. Michael O'Neill brought in a load of players that he'd been after. Finally sort of put his stamp on the squad after a couple of years of really tight sort of restrictions, especially like financially and that. This season was probably the last one where we were really struggling with FFP. So he's, like I say, he's brought in a load of players. 4 games into the season, we've sacked him. Yeah, exactly. Why? So Alex Neil's come in and he's took his time, really. Obviously, a lot of the players he come in, he said he wanted wingers. We didn't have a single proper winger in the squad. He doesn't want to play 5 at the back, but Michael O'Neill did, hence, he recruited for that. So it really took us probably until after Christmas to get a season going, when Neil could sort of get rid of a lot of the loanies that were in the building and bring in a lot of his own players. But since January, we have picked up a lot. A lot of the play, ironically, it was one of the lone players who did survive the cull, Will Smallbone, who's been a bit of a shining light in the second half of the season. Really stepped up his game since the turn of the year, which has been good to see. But Southampton are having him back next season, so we've just, not benefiting us long term, unfortunately. I, at the start of the season, was hoping that we would be challenging for the playoffs. I certainly wasn't thinking we'd be yet another season in the bottom half of the league. But yes, as it stands, that's where we are, just below midway. So yeah, I think again we've sort of finally strung a few results together. 5 games unbeaten for the first time in a couple of years. Just going into Easter, obviously then we come up against Birmingham, Bristol City and pick up 1 point from 2 games, which totally just killed off any slim chance we did have of reaching the playoffs. For me now, it's probably more looking towards next season, to be honest. Like I say, I mentioned Smallbone I don't see the point in playing him in these last 5 games. He's not going to be here next year. Southampton have already said they were having him he'll be in their squad regardless next season. So we may as well bring Lewis Baker back in for me, but we'll see what Alex Neil does. On the point of Alex Neil, I think he's done really well, to be honest. It's not an easy job, believe it or not, at the minute, this football club. A lot of overhaul all the time. Still sort of, going back off previous managers, Nathan Jones, Gary Rowett, who spent a fortune over the hill sort of Championship bog standard players that were possibly more ego than actual ability, and yeah, we ended up with a real bad situation financially. So we're coming through that now. Hopefully this summer he can, like I say, really get into the nitty-gritty of recruitment of what he wants. Yeah, West Brom have been a bit of a funny team for me this season. Every time I've looked at the table, I've expected to see you higher in the league than you actually are. And obviously you've got like Swift in the middle with Jed Wallace and as attacking players and stuff, and you really think the creativity's there. I didn't think goals would be an issue, but it seems to me that they are sort of on the whole, obviously from the outside looking in, that's sort of where he's struggling a bit, which does surprise me. Like I say, with the creativity players that you've got. Like I say, yeah, also when we played you at the Hawthorns, you were a better side than us. You made us, you won that game comfortably, and you were by far the better side. So, like I say, it does sort of just surprise me slightly that you aren't well inside that top six, sort of, probably the top 3 or 4 really. Especially when you see teams like, no offence to people like Luton, Millwall. You would fully expect, you guys at West Brom to be competing and in and around those sort of teams at least. I think obviously I mentioned sort of like say Swift and Wallace there, but I think probably Brandon Thomas Asante as well. I mean, I noticed he scored a few goals off the bench. Asante coming on for you, a bit of a super sub. Looked a danger. I know he's sort of a good player to have around the place as well, I suppose, because he's obviously young, he's eager, he's coming up, come from Salford, didn't he, at the start of the season and that, so he's going to be chomping at the bit. He's got his big chance now, and like I say, those kind of players I think can sort of have an effect on other players in your squad as well, especially like maybe older players. Just keep them sort of feeling young, if you like. So yeah, I think he's probably one that I'll be keeping an eye on Saturday, and hopefully we can keep him quiet. As for yourselves, I think you probably, if you can keep Tyrese Campbell quiet, you nullify a lot of our attacking ability. Not all Stoke fans agree with that for some reason. But yeah, for me, Tyrese Campbell is sort of, when we get in that final third, he's lethal, and there's not many goals we don't score. Not many goals we do score, should I say, that he doesn't get involved in. Whether it be scoring, assisting, or just involved heavily in the build-up. He really is. Getting back to the Tyrese Campbell we saw before he obviously had his serious ACL injury a couple of years ago, which is nice for us to see. And with him, like I say, I know he's sort of hasn't been mentioned yet, but if the reports are right, his contract hasn't got too long left, so hopefully we'll be sitting him down and tying him to a long-term deal over the summer. As for a prediction, I think you guys have got something to play for and we haven't. And our home form is absolutely diabolical. We haven't won back-to-back home games all season, which I believe there's only us, I think it's Blackpool and Wigan, the only 3 teams in the league not to win back-to-back home games. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And probably the 2 players we have mentioned, Thomas Asante for you guys and Campbell for us, will score the goals. So yeah, best of luck. Have a safe journey up, you guys who are coming, and so hope for a good game on Saturday.
So that's everything you need to know about Stoke ahead of tomorrow's game. Thank you very much to Dan from the Every Step Along the Way podcast. Make sure to check them out. Links in the description. Make sure to go and drop them some follows on social media and their podcast platforms as well. So thank you very much, Dan, for sending in that video. And as I said, check out their links in the description. Let's talk Albion now. I mean, it's been a really difficult sort of past week for Albion. Two dismal performances, we'll say. Firstly against Rotherham, a 3-1 defeat, but also against QPR, which was just as bad, if not worse. The only thing that saving it from being as bad as the Rotherham game is that we actually came out with a point. But yeah, Albion have been pretty poor of late, and that is the disappointing thing. You get to the business end of the season, you want to see a team really striving towards those playoff places, especially as you'd argue that the team let you down last season with these playoff places. And now you've got another chance to rectify it. You've got another chance to come in and make things better, give the club at least a little shot of keeping the financial future of the club alive, but also, the hopes of the fans, the entertainment of the fans alive as well, instead of the season dwindling out like it did last year. However, those 2 performances showed exactly what we kind of feared would happen, which is the dwindling out. And you thought under Carlos Corberán maybe it wouldn't happen because he's shown a little bit of better aptitude than perhaps our past a couple of permanent head coaches. However, looks pretty much the same in terms of now we've had quite a few injury problems, and I'd like to talk about the injury problems, to be honest. I think that's a little bit concerning for me with the amount of injuries that we've had. Either our luck is awful or something's perhaps going a little bit wrong on the training pitch, and that for me leaves me in a little bit of a doubt as to whether the training sessions are being conducted right, whether we're doing everything to kind of not make sure the training's so intense. I know that Corberán's a very intense manager. I know that he's got it's not quite an intense side of play. There's not much high pressing. There was a little bit when he came in, but not too much now. However, I'd have thought that the training sessions wouldn't lead to, however many injuries we've got at the moment. I mean, we've got O'Shea out. We've got Alex Palmer who's just come back. Of course, he's in contention for Saturday. We've got Dara O'Shea out, as I said there. We've got the likes of Keane Bryan, of course, been out for quite a while. Martin Kelly's been out on loan at Wigan, so nothing to do with really Albion and those on Martin Kelly's part. But Keane Bryan, of course, almost over a year now we're talking. You've got Jason Malumbi who's been out. You've got Yokuslu who's been out as well. Adam Reach, Grady Diangana, Matt Phillips. I mean, I'm probably missing out a couple. Taylor Gardner-Hickman's injured tomorrow as well. So many injuries. I mean, it is a little concerning as to how many we're picking up. Either we're really unlucky, which wouldn't surprise me with the way that we've, been playing, the way we've been conceding goals. Sometimes it has been a little bit unlucky for Albion this season. However, you have to look at maybe some of the injuries, and it is a little bit concerning as to how many we've picked up at this stage of the season, and how the results have kind of been impacted by them. So tomorrow is going to be a difficult game because of that. Not just because of our poor record against Stoke and our poor form and our poor away form, of course. Not winning any of our last 7, losing 6 out of our 7 last away games, of course. Not winning in any of our last 4, 3 draws, one defeat in there. The season has started to stagnate, and that's not what you want to see as a supporter. That's not what you want to see as watching the team go forward. I think that's the most difficult thing to watch, is how the season's kind of ebbing away and starting to fall apart. So I'm going to pick my predicted lineup now. This is how I think I'd like us to line up / how I think Corberán might go for. So in goal, you've obviously got the return of Alex Palmer, which is big. That is kind of a big, I think that's a massive coup for Albion to get him back in the side. Really been a fan of what Josh Griffiths has done in goal during his spell in the side. I think he's shown maturity. I think he's shown a lot of really, really good attributes for a goalkeeper. I think his shot stopping has been pretty decent. I think distribution-wise has been quite good as well in terms of watching it on the eye. Not sure how the data backs that up, but I think on the eye he's definitely looked really good, apart from a few mistakes here and there. However, I think we've missed Alex Palmer's real communication, his presence at the back. I think we've been a little more disorganised after losing him, and I think that might be a reason as to why our form stagnated in the way it has, is because he's constantly talking to the defence. I think losing O'Shea in there has not helped with that respect either, because he's also constantly organising the defence. But I think Alex Palmer as well in goal has done that. So I'd bring him back in. I'd put him in goal. I think I'd do that. I think that would really help the side, and I think that would cause maybe a little bit of a tightening up at the back, if you will. So I go for Alex Palmer in goal. I go for a back 4. Of course, Carl Bartley, another injury, hamstring scan confirmed that he will be out for a little bit more time, so we won't be seeing him. So it'll be the same back 4 again of Connor Townsend, Darnell Furlong at right back, Eric Peterson and Semi Ajayi in the middle. Then midfield is where the crisis is happening at the moment. So no Okay Yokuslu tomorrow. So it looks like, and no Taylor Gardner-Hickman tomorrow. So it looks like it's going to be a midfield pairing of Nathaniel Chalabar, possibly Jason Malumbi if he's fit enough, but otherwise it's going to have to be Tom Rogic and maybe John Swift just ahead of him. And then in that sort of front 3, if you like, 2 wingers and a striker, I'd go for Mark Albrighton. I'd probably go for Jed Wallace, and I'd probably keep Thomas Asante after his performance at the weekend. I would be tempted to stick Thomas Asante on the left wing. His best form at Salford did come on the wing, so I think that's kind of an asset that Albion are yet to tap into. But it's kind of a difficult one, because you've got very little to work with in terms of selection. Maybe you give a young gunner go in midfield, that might be an idea. But at the moment, things aren't looking good, and the performances of the midfield last time don't really give you confidence that without Yokuslu and without Malumbi that you can go forward. So it's going to be a difficult one tomorrow, and I'm really I'd say I'm nervous, but I kind of expect a defeat, if I have to be honest. I think we'll lose 1-0. That's just me being a little bit pessimistic. I'm not normally pessimistic, normally quite positive, but away from home, I just can't see us getting a result at the moment. With the injuries we've got, with the way our form stagnated and the way that we seem to keep collapsing at any form of pressure, I'd probably say we'll lose 1-0, which is a shame because we're 5 points away from the playoffs. It's not done. The season's not over yet. As much as people like to say it is, mathematically it's still there, but I don't have very much confidence in the current crop of players to pull a result together. So I'll predict a 1-0 loss. Pains me to say that. Don't like betting against Albion, but I'd go 1-0. But make sure you drop your score predictions, your predicted 11s down in the comment section below. That's all we've got time for on this match preview. Thank you very much to Dan from the Every Step Along the Way podcast. Make sure to check them out. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the game, Baggies fans, and see you soon. Goodbye.